Count Dankula has been charged with spreading hate speech. He's been found guilty in a Scottish court. Now the case is still ongoing and there is a chance that he could end up imprisoned for up to a year. This is a very dark turn of events and is definitely an attack on free speech. Now for those of you who don't know, although maybe you do now because the story has made national headline news, Count Dankula is a YouTuber who famously, or perhaps infamously, filmed his girlfriend's dog doing a Nazi salute. Now the reason he did this was to piss off his girlfriend, because his girlfriend thinks the dog is really cute, it can't do anything wrong, everything that it does, including shitting on the floor, is cute and beautiful. So he decided to train it to do something which would be really abhorrent. He thought, what could the most abhorrent possible thing imaginable would be if he could turn the dog into a Nazi.
My girlfriend is always ranting and raving about how cute and adorable her wee dog is. And so I thought I would turn him into the least cute thing that I could think of, which is a Nazi. He, at the time, was a very small YouTuber with not a lot of subscribers, mainly his friends, and he put it on his YouTube channel. You know, for the life of me, I can't think of any other Scottish people with strange facial hair who've got a dubious sense of humour. What he wasn't expecting was for the video to go viral. It's had a few million views. It went worldwide and he became famous overnight. It ended up being reported to the police. He was arrested. He was charged. The case has been going on for about 2 years. He's been hounded by the press. He's found it very hard, if not impossible, to find work anywhere. Antifa have attacked him. He's had death threats. He's been called a Nazi and a fascist. It's destroyed his life. He's been absolutely hounded. Just recently, he was invited to give a speech or a talk on the issue of free speech at Edinburgh University, and the local student anarchist group campaigned against it and wanted it shut down. The alternative right-wing media have come out in his defence. Lauren Southern, Alex Jones, Paul Joseph Watson, Sargon of Akkad. OK, Sargon is a classical liberal and a centrist, although I do think he has slipped a little bit to the right recently. Why isn't the left coming out in defence of Count Dankula and coming out in defence of free speech? You don't arrest comedians for making off jokes. You don't imprison or threaten comedians with imprisonment for making politically incorrect statements. That's very dark and it's very dangerous and it sets a very unhealthy precedent. It's time for the left to stop doing and saying the exact opposite to the right. Because what's happening in these very troubling times, these politically correct times, is that the right is often correct in taking the stance that it takes. If I was a consultant to the populist right, I would say to them, look, all you have to do is point out factual truths, stand back and watch the left make complete arseholes of themselves, and thereby you win the argument. We have to start taking this very seriously now. If we don't grow some balls, we are just going to continue to lose all credibility, and the narrative of the right, the alternative right, the rebel right, and potentially the far right will gain ground. And for those people who are to the right and are critics of the left, I'll tell you what the left really is about. Because it's not about SJWs. It's not about Antifa attacking and shutting down any kind of speech or discussion that it doesn't like. It's about the history of the trade union movement defending the interests of working class people and workers in the workplace. In the post-war period, it was the trade union and labour movement that gave us the National Health Service. Free health for everybody at the point of use.
It was the trade union and labour movement which knocked down the post-war slums and built social housing for working class and poor people. It was the trade union and labour movement which put the first ever working class MP into Parliament and gave a democratic voice and power for the first time in history to working class people. That's the legacy of the left in this country. So stop going on about Stalin and the Soviet Union and execution and death squads and gulags and grow the fuck up. And all of these things are under attack. All of these great legacies of the left and the British trade union movement are under attack. And who do you think it is that's attacking them? And a right wing that doesn't have the support of firefighters, heroic workers, people who save our lives, who are in one of the greatest unions in this country. A right that doesn't have the support of nurses who run our National Health Service, our hospitals, and treat us when we need to be taken care of when we're ill or we've been seriously injured. They're under attack. Nurses are leaving the job because they're either retiring or they have a kid and decide that they're going to resign and become a full-time mother if that's their choice to do that. And the hospitals aren't replacing those nurses with new ones. They're overworked. It means that the service that patients are getting is declining, and it means that the workload on those nurses is increasing. This is due to cuts to the health service, and that is a very dodgy thing, and it's the unions and it's the labour movement who have the power and the potential to do something about that. That's what the left is about. If a right wing doesn't have that labour force on its side, where is it going to look for support and finances? It's going to look to people who have not got the interests of workers or working class people or working class communities at heart. Why is it, after all, that the right constantly attacks trade unions, constantly attacks the idea of universal free healthcare, and constantly attacks the idea of the welfare system itself? By the way, the vast majority of benefit claimants are in work. They're low-paid workers. They're not being paid enough to live, and therefore they have to rely on benefits. That's the majority of the claimants of benefits in this country. There is a working poor now who have to go to food banks to top up their wages. Really, you're going to get rid of that welfare system? You think that's a good idea? By the same token, the left now has to speak out. Political correctness has gone mad. There are threats to free speech. We can no longer remain silent if we want to start being respected. It's an absolute despicable move. We should be screaming about this. David Baddiel, that famous white supremacist neo-Nazi, in fact, has come out in defence of Count Dankula. And I think a hell of a lot more people should do exactly that and do it very quickly.